Well, that just goes to show you, Brian, what kind of wonderful fans we have out there in the cult of Cornette. The people out there, they're knowledgeable, they're intelligent. They send us all these news reports and things. They shower us with gifts. And they have a strength in numbers, Brian, because we have such a listenership. I don't know if all of the people around the world have heard the update, the follow-up to something that we just discussed on the program we did right before I went down for my surgery. But we discussed Jimmy Kimmel being taken off the air, censored, deprived of his free speech and First Amendment rights, and as soon, within hours of the point in time that you dropped that clip out amongst the minions and the multitudes across the land, Jimmy Kimmel was reinstated. So I just want to say thank you to the cult of Cornette for beating on people's doors and busting down those barriers and demanding that Jimmy Kimmel get back on the air. Thank you for accomplishing that mission. They caved in no time, Brian.
Well, I don't think it was the listeners, because if you go based on the timing of the clip, it was the same day. I don't think they would have made that much of a difference that day.
Well, it took a couple hours, but our people work fast.
Well, again, I think Bob Iger may have been looking at other things other than the cult of Cornette when it came to the decision here.
Well, it couldn't have been just the cancellations, because think about this now. The poor WWE, they don't have the reach we have here over at the WWE. They debut on the news service, wanting to bring all the subscribers into the news service on the same week as this shit gets pulled, and they lost $5 billion in cancellations for people upset about Jimmy Kimmel. So
WrestlePalooza weekend.
I don't know that the WWE was able to compensate for that attrition by any new customers they might have been able to bring, Brian. How many people would they have had to bring in new to offset $5 billion in cancellations?
Again, I don't think I thought there was already an issue with enthusiasm for this event before there was a boycott of Disney. Like, that did nothing there was nothing happening to really help the enthusiasm. The people into the Cena-Lesnar match and the mixed tag match, because those are really the two main things, even though the Usos and the Bronze was kind of a main focus on Raw. It didn't seem like people were saying, I know it's a high price, but I can't miss this match. I can't miss this show. So I think there were contributing factors, and then the boycott happens. And then a lot of people decide they don't want to do business with Disney, which is ESPN, which is the WWE.
Which is everything. We're gonna find out. It's fucking Howard Hughes on a goddamn island somewhere, still alive at 125.
He'd be a lot older than that right now, wouldn't he?
Well, I tell you what, I bet you he wouldn't be 2 years older than 125. Look it up while I'm saying my next statement. Meanwhile, talking about ratings, Jimmy Kimmel back on the air. And ladies and gentlemen, again, around the world who might not know the United States television scene, the people at our old friend Sinclair Broadcasting and this other little right-wing nutcase group that wants approval from the government to have another multi-billion-dollar merger with somebody else where somebody gets fucked. They still won't air Kimmel, even though the network is broadcasting it, because Sinclair's been right-wing and continues to follow that path. And Kimmel did 6 million viewers without stations in like 20-something markets or whatever, which is 3 times what he normally did with full coverage.
It's remarkable. That's a remarkable number, because Sinclair and Nexstar, which I think is actually bigger than Sinclair. I could be wrong.
No, Sinclair has more ABC affiliates. There's like 28 of Sinclair's stations are ABC stations.
Because I was going to say, not all of Sinclair's affiliates obviously are ABC. No. They own, which is kind of crazy when you really think about it. The fact you own a whole bunch of stations and it's affiliates of various networks, that seems a bit nutty. But such a large chunk of the country couldn't access it. And then it still did a big number. And by the way, if you deny people access to it, it doesn't mean they're not going to go to YouTube. So I think the video from the monologue, I don't have the number or anything, that did a great number too, obviously.
Well, yeah. And the thing is, again, Sinclair.
I don't know about that Robert De Niro skit. I'm not, that was one of the worst things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But yeah.
De Niro was, I think they were having a problem with the lag on the Zoom. He should have been next to him. De Niro, his timing was a little off, but he's older. But nevertheless, point being, Sinclair tries to say, oh, well, we want to make sure that the programming will uphold our community standards or if we reflect the values of our, fuck you. You know what it is? They want the fucking money like it was 15 years ago. They only owned 60 TV stations then. Now it's 200 or whatever the fuck. And they just want the money that comes from not only the various mergers or from the right-wing government that they kowtow to, not breaking them up as a monopoly. That's what's in it for them, not your community interest. If you paid them enough, they'd show goddamn Vanessa Del Rio's greatest anal hits. So fuck their goddamn community standards. But anyway, so Kimmel, one of the good guys, wins.
You know, it's interesting, though, when you really think about it. We've talked a lot in the past, a lot of, really based around wrestling, about TV dying. The modern television business, because kids don't watch it. The kids, I don't think we're watching Jimmy Kimmel. If the kids are going to see that, they're going to go to YouTube and see what he said. And it's a growing thing. With every new crop of youngsters, they're going to TikTok, they're going to YouTube, they're on Instagram, they're on Snapchat, they're on all these other things, and they're consuming their news and their content. And I'm not saying that's a good thing, it's just reality. They're consuming it that way. Television's audience is getting smaller and smaller. I'm not saying it's going to completely go away tomorrow, but it's not like they're doing a lot of things to bring people back to TV. That's one of the interesting things. Cable and, of course, broadcast, most specifically broadcast, they're not doing anything to try to entice people who aren't there to come back. So you have Sinclair.
Well, they just did.
Well, you know what I mean? In general, it's just like, yes. they're doing the same things over and over and over again, and they're producing programming that's not must-see programming. And you talk about Sinclair and Nexstar, they own all these stations. It's going to be an interesting thing, an interesting bubble to see what the value of all those stations are in 10 years. Is it something where they're compiling and buying all these things that the value of them will be slashed in half in 10 years because the advertisers won't go there because the audience isn't there?
But no, because they will still exist as content creators, as broadcast entities. The stuff from YouTube has to be produced somehow, somewhere. Whatever the method of delivery and the streaming. The point is they're trying to control not only entertainment, but get in a point where they can control whatever people see and hear and tailor it to their particular fucking taste or whoever they're beholden to with these giant monopolies and these giant conglomerates and the late night comedians and or just the talent. Again, they're not, it's like the boys now. The boys used to be able to work their way into the office. But now all the talent, they may be making multi-millions of dollars, but they realize these nameless, talentless pricks at the top are making billions of dollars. And they're able to fucking speak out a little bit. And that's the issue is who's going to be controlling what we are allowed to see. And that was the issue that people flamed on about, that even if you didn't want to watch Jimmy Kimmel, you wanted to be able to watch Jimmy Kimmel. And there's a difference there. And there's a difference between free speech and free lies. Because I said, now they kicked Trump off Twitter years ago and they censored the right-wing point of view and whatever. Free speech is not free lies. He got kicked off of Twitter for the same reason that he's legally barred from operating a charity in the state of New York. Fraud. He was saying he won the election. He didn't win the election. Sane people knew he didn't win the election. But he made people believe it, which led to the insurrection on January 6th, which he said wasn't an insurrection and I didn't have anything to do with it anyway. Even though all sane people know from testimony, facts, fucking video and audio exactly what it was and what happened. It's the same when he was saying in all of them, where COVID's not dangerous. It'll go away, or whatever the fuck. And how many people were intubated or died because they believed the shit. Now they're on Tylenol. How many people are going to fucking have headaches because they fucking are scared to take Tylenol because of these fucking foons?
Hey, can I ask you a question?
Yes, please do.
Before we move off politics, and hopefully some of this gets to YouTube, I think it will.
Yes.
You know, Donald Trump, we may not be fans, but I think you can kind of understand why some people are. Don't agree with it, but this is a salesman. He's out there saying whatever he wants, whether it's true or not. You can understand why some people would go, yeah, I believe in him. Why does anyone look at Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and say this guy should be interfering in anyone's health?
Well, it's
if he didn't have a fake tan and if he wasn't on growth hormone, would you think this guy's the picture of health? Or would you think someone has thrown someone out into the atmosphere on Mars in total recall?
No, the fake tan makes him look like a sweet potato. It adds to the overall unhealthy picture. And that's, again, this is not free speech. It's costly lies. When you're getting people to, again, to not vaccinate their children because of your fucking lunatic ideas that you believe will appeal to your fucking disgruntled base who are disgruntled about everything. It's a land of disgruntlement. You can't just batshit crazy lie over and over for your own profit when you're in that position in the world, for your own self-aggrandizement. And that is not free speech. That's dangerous. And that's why that we are a country and it is in the middle of a shit show of violence, embarrassment, and incompetence. So blow me. Some things, some speech should not be allowed. And it's bullshit speech that shouldn't be allowed if people, because of their own mental predilections of who to blame for their grievances, think should. So we can trust the late night comedians, folks. Good Lord.